I'm Professor Alexander Schieffer and co-founder together with Prof. Ronnie Lessem of the Transform Center for Integral Development, which is based in Geneva, Switzerland, and in a rural campus in Autun, France.
And you came to Nigeria for a purpose, and could you tell us what you came for?
Nigeria is for us one of the future motors for a healthy development in Africa, and I tell you why we believe that. We are working in Nigeria with a group of integrally and sustainably oriented bankers and with Father Anselm Adodo in Evo village in Edo State, who are jointly on a journey to bring an alternative approach to Africa, born out of Africa, born out of African philosopher, to this country and to the continent as a whole. And that is something we are doing in partnership together with them, and that is what brings us now for the second time already to Nigeria.
So you were one of the supervisors to Father Aslem's dissertation. What do you see interesting about his research and results of his research?
I want to mention, because you used the term supervisor, I would like to begin with this, because in the PhD program that we have designed together with DaVinci in South Africa, we kind of break down to some degree the notion of supervisor-student. For the very reason, because we believe that real innovation needs much more co-creation and innovation ecologies. And in the case of Father Anselm Adodo, if you look closely to his research, he is working in an ecology between the enterprise he helped to co-found, Pax Herbals, the monastery, in which he is now since 27 years, and the village, Edo, in which he is engaged now for the last 20 years. And we as Transform are part of this innovation ecology that Father Anselm, in a unique way, framed as what he calls communalism, a new philosophy, a meta-philosophy for Nigeria and Africa that brings these different constituencies together with a unifying purpose of healing society.
This new concept that you just mentioned from Father Aslam is something that is coming out of Africa. Do you see a path forward for the world to recognize that something can start from Africa?
Well, you know, I think as Transform we are working around the world, and we feel in our integral perspective the big missing gap for the last probably not only decades, if not centuries, has been Africa. Africa for long has been the forgotten continent, and the way how to bring Africa back to the world consciousness and for Africa to make its own contribution to the world is not a way of imitating the West. You know, what we see now, the hailing of Africa as a new economic emergent economy, is for us not a healthy way to go, because in most cases it is an imitation of a Western way of development. In Father Anselm's work and the work of some of our colleagues here in Nigeria, we see a way where development is regrounded in African philosophy, in African tradition, not in a backwards-oriented way, but in a way that history and tradition and identity is revitalized in order to create future-oriented concepts, of which communalism, to our mind, is perhaps the most promising one.
So what this school, DaVinci University, what is about this school? What is so special about this school?
DaVinci is a university institute based in South Africa, which has been founded based on the foundational impulse of Nelson Mandela, who looked, and that brings me to what is special in DaVinci, which is our partner organization, to its uniqueness. Nelson Mandela found that at that time universities would be too much focusing on conveying content, developing an individual, rather than actually co-creating knowledge in society for society. And DaVinci is a Mode 2 university, and Mode 2 means it's actually not very well known in the world, but the Mode 2 university is one that focuses on knowledge production within society, between, for example, university and enterprise, university and community, in order to contribute to burning issues in societies. And that is actually the very passion of Transform, to transforming research and education so that it is relevant for society's burning issues. And in that sense, we found in DaVinci an ideal partner for our work.
You've been to Nigeria maybe once or twice. How do you find Nigeria, sir?
Well, I admit I relate primarily to its people. Lagos for me is not a particular beautiful town, but what I do connect to very much is the vibrancy of Nigerians. And I think that if you look a bit under the surface and look into Yoruba culture, into Igbo culture, into Hausa culture, into Yaba culture, for example, you find an incredibly rich African groundstock on which I believe, and also in the interface between these different ethnicities, if they overcome the tension and conflict that is inherent also between them, there is an enormous potential to create something fundamentally new which can speak to the world. Because have in mind, me coming from Europe, we have massive issues now with migration, and we haven't learned at all how do we deal with cultural diversity on a deeper level. I think Nigeria, if it gets its act together, and in the work we are doing here together, has a chance to provide an alternative model for that.
So you'll be going back to Switzerland after all your appointments in Nigeria, and we'll look forward for you to return to Nigeria. Are there other opportunities that Nigerians can benefit from both the DaVinci University and your institution?
Well, I should mention that we see ourselves as an ongoing long-term journey with Nigeria. One person who is already going to take this journey of Father Anselm further is Sister Esther Shebi, who founded a PAX clinic in Jos in northern Nigeria. She's going now to join our program. So undoubtedly she is going to take this story further, and we are much looking forward to more participants in our joint DaVinci and Transform program, and to continue to develop the innovation ecology within Nigeria, together with our Nigerian friends and colleagues.
Thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you very much.